Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Jordan Kitchens, he's frazzled, but he's back there. Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos as well. My guy Jordan's pulling for Egyptian soccer players. They're letting him down, apparently.
It's over. Don't let me down. It's over. Y'all pack y'all bags. Get out of my country. Pack your bags.
Back to Egypt for the
Egyptians.
They lose, apparently. Louisiana. Louisiana. America did that last night, too.
3-2.
We'll talk about that at the end of the hour. We got a lot more to get to as well. I decided to go deep dive on the Saints today. Something that I didn't find on the internet, something that I found the information on the internet, but it wasn't something that someone wrote that I'm reacting to. I actually went and dug up the ages of all the Saints and where that falls relative to the National Football League, understanding that we don't have 53-man rosters. We'll get into Saints' ages and how they've kind of turned the roster over with here in 15 minutes. Glen West is going to be with us in 30 minutes. Sharif Ishak in 90 minutes. I want to talk about Derek Curiel and Jake Brown, and we'll also get into a little bit of SEC Media Days LSU representation at the beginning of hour number 2 as well. So plenty to do on this Tuesday. Stick with us. Let's start with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Opening drive, not going to deal with Egyptian soccer nor Argentinian soccer. We're going to stay on the home front here with a Ruston Bearcat turned LSU Tiger. The breaking news in the last hour. Jayden has picked LSU. He joins his brother as a LSU Tiger. Of course, Aiden Anding been on campus for a couple of years. Unfortunately, Aiden was injured right there at the end of spring ball, right in front of our eyes in Tiger Stadium, had an interception and blew out his Achilles, so he will not be able to play this season. By the time Jayden gets to campus, Aiden should be ready to play, and those two can join forces. You know, brothers, it obviously gives you an advantage. When you've got a brother on the team, you've got an advantage. We can go through the LSU brothers over the years, from the Jeffersons that were here for a very, very long time. Obviously, I worked with my guy BT on pre- and post-game. He joined two of his brothers here on campus, Leonard Fournette and Leonard Fournette. The Bordelon boys are on the team right now. The Weeks boys, there were 3 of them on the field at one time last year. When you've got a brother in the fold, it gives you an advantage, and I think LSU obviously used that against Ole Miss and Oklahoma in this recruitment, and we're able to land a talented player. This is not going to be one that steals national headlines, but this is a guy that LSU's defensive backfield staff has identified and thinks he can come in from a really, really good high school program and contribute. If you look at his Rivals industry rating, he is a 4-star by Rivals. He's a 4-star by 24/7. ESPN ranks him as a 3-star. But as the industry ranking, he's number 11 player in the state of Louisiana, number 29 safety in the country. He's a little bit better than that by the folks at Rivals. He is the number 9 player in the state of Louisiana. 24/7 agrees with that. So a top 10 player in the state, a safety who is a little bit bigger than his brother at this point in their development. He's about 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. And you figure as a 17-year-old, he will grow into that 6-foot frame, maybe 6'1" by the time he graduates, and upwards of 185 pounds or so if he continues to work and do the things that a lot of high school athletes are doing these days. He's a really good athlete, again, comes from a really good program, and he joins a secondary group and a safety group that LSU is going to have to overhaul, as you do really every year at most positions. But you look at what LSU has at safety entering this year. Tamarcus Cooley is a redshirt junior. He certainly could come back for another year. He certainly could move on. I don't profile Tamarcus Cooley as a first-round NFL talent at any time, but he plays really hard. He's played a lot of football at a very high level at the SEC and the ACC, and he could move on. Ty Benefield is out of eligibility after this year. Well, I say that. Ty Benefield is not, because we've now got to 5 for 5. I've got to retrain myself on that discussion because he could play a 5th year, but he's not going to, by my estimation, if he's healthy. He is a high NFL draft pick if he plays the way we think he's going to play. So Ty Benefield could be gone. Deshaun Spears is draft eligible if he wants to go. Those 3 guys who we figure are going to play a lot of safety, and Spears plays star this year could be moving on. You could be replacing all three of your safety spots. Now, maybe not. Maybe Cooley comes back. Maybe Benefield comes back. Maybe Spears comes back. But it stands to reason they could all move on if they wanted to. Behind those guys, you've got Fahim Delane, Mansour's younger brother, another brother situation, even though they didn't play together. You got Fahim Delane, who is a sophomore this year. You got Aiden Hall, who has just come in as a freshman from Carr. He is really big and physical, y'all. We saw him in spring ball. We know Carr's got some talent. That's been a pretty good program over the last few years. Aiden Hall comes in at 6'2" and 195 pounds. By the time LSU plays football game against Clemson, Aiden Hall probably is going to weigh 200 pounds at 6'2" as a true freshman. Jace Thomas is a redshirt freshman at safety. Isaiah Washington from Haynesville is another 6'2", big physical safety. That's kind of a look at where you are on this team. But there's going to be playing time to be had early on. I don't know if I'm ready to suggest that Jayden Anding is someone who hasn't taken a single senior in high school class is going to come in and do that. But you understand you've got to keep rolling those guys in. You've got the portal at your disposal as well. But at safety, LSU has good numbers. They have good talent. They're really old at that spot, but they may have to overhaul it. And maybe Jayden Anding comes in and is a factor in that spot. The other piece to this equation is, of course, the Louisiana piece to it. I struggle back and forth with just how vital the state of Louisiana is for LSU. And I say that not being a 50-50 pendulum swing. There was a time where LSU simply could not survive without the best players in the state of Louisiana. I don't know that we're still in that time. I think we're still in that time. I think you still need the best guys. But then you look at LSU this year, and you're going to put Sam Levitt out there at quarterback, and you're going to put Caden Durham and Dylan Jones out there at running back. I know Harlan Berry's there, but work with the theory as well. You've got wide receivers from every corner of the country that are going to play. You look at the defensive side of the football, and like TJ Daugherty and Whit Weeks aren't from Louisiana. You look at Prince William Monmiel, and he's not from Louisiana. Like, you look up front, Deuce Gerald's is not from Louisiana. DJ Pickett's not from Louisiana. Ty Benefield's not from Louisiana. Like, Deshaun Spears is, Dominic McKinley is, Harlan Berry is, Trey'Dez Green is. Those guys are out there, but like Jordan Seaton's not. You look at, and so I feel like I'm constantly kind of taking in information, and I'm constantly kind of surveying the situation to adapt my views. I'm not going to dig my heels in a new era. I still think LSU needs to get the best players in Louisiana. I don't think that in basketball because they don't grow them. And in baseball, like, you're going to field a starting lineup this coming season, 1 through 9, without William Schmidt on the mound. If Kason Evans is on the mound, like, you're not going to have a Louisiana player in the mix. I don't think Jack Ruckert's going to start. You've always had your Louisiana guys. You've always had Jake Brown in the lineup to help win a national championship. You've always had guys that were from the state. And there have been a ton of guys from Catholic High, a ton of guys from the Catholic League, a ton of guys from Acadiana that have helped you through the years win. And like, yeah, you always have the ability to go get Dylan Cruz. You got the ability to go get Brad Cressy. I mean, I can pull names all day, every day. But it's not as vital for those programs. Basketball needs 8 dudes. You can find 8 dudes anywhere. Baseball, LSU sits at such a high pedestal in the sport with such amazing fundraising that there are enough high school and quartal baseball players for you to pull the money together and pull them for wherever Jay Johnson finds them. In football, you need like 60 contributors. And I just feel like using that geographic advantage that you have, to whatever degree that comes, is still vital. And so every time that LSU gets one of these guys, I count that as a little bit of a bigger win to keep them in the state. Now, I could be proven wrong. I just routed off this starting lineup here of a team that people think is a top 15 team, that think they could compete for an SEC championship, that could compete to make the college football playoff. And the Louisiana influence on that is significantly lessened than it was for the 2011 run. It just is. So it's something I'm thinking about a lot. It's something that I'm surveying, and I don't think that Louisiana is vital to LSU basketball. It's good for LSU baseball. It once was It once was completely vital to LSU baseball because if you were talking about 11.7 scholarships, you needed tops guys on your team to help. You had to go out there and have Mason Katz and Rafe Rhymes and Aaron Nola on your team so you could go get Jacoby Jones from Mississippi where you could allot him more scholarship money. Like, you had to have guys that were cheap who were using in-state tuition to satisfy the 11.7. Now, with NIL, that's not as big a deal. So y'all get where I'm coming from. It's a complicated discussion, but I'm still going to lean on the fact that LSU needs some Louisiana blood on the football field to be the best it can be. I really think that because Louisiana has so many NFL guys per capita, has so many 4 and 5 stars per year in the recruiting cycle, and has been so vital to LSU, and I still think has somewhat of an advantage over the rest of the schools that are going to come in and recruit them. They can still get them. NIL matters, and some guys want to go off to college and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know if they're going to get Easton Royal, and they didn't get Elijah Haven, and they missed on Albert Simeon, and maybe they did. There are complicated things that I am constantly weighing, but today, with Jayden Anding, a 4-star safety that Ole Miss wanted, that Oklahoma wanted, that picks LSU, I think that's a good thing for the home team to defend the home state and to get that guy in the boat. So good for LSU, good for Jayden Anding, good for Aiden Anding, and good for the Tiger football program as a whole. Good day as Jayden Anding, 4-star safety prospect from Ruston, commits to LSU within the hour. We're off and running on the Hunt Palmer Show here on this Tuesday. Let's take a time out. When we come back, let's switch over to the Saints. Encouraging trend on the Saints roster. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. A lot of y'all lost power back over the weekend. Had that nasty storm roll through. It's kind of scary out there. Had the wind blowing. Those clouds were real low, swirling. That happens at 4 o'clock a lot of afternoons around here, and that's not even hurricane season. But it's a nuisance to lose your power for 3.5 hours. It's a nuisance to lose your power overnight and have to sleep with a fan on and your legs outside the covers. Just avoid that. The folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services can help you be prepared for the next power outage with a Generac home standby generator. It's ready to roll whenever that power goes out. Have them come out. Have them give you a quote. A local team will install it. A local team will monitor that generator 24/7. If there's a mechanical issue, they're out there at your front door ready to help to make sure that that generator is ready to go when that power goes out. It's storm season. Do this proactively. It's not something you want to think about after the power goes out. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can find them at 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. Do it the easy way. That's BoudreauxElectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Love to remind you, my friends, that Gotros Outdoor Power. At times, I get nervous when Boudreaux's and Gotros are right next to each other on the live sheet, admittedly. But they're both great. You should check them out just for different things. Boudreaux's Electrical for your Generac home standby generators. Gotros Outdoor Power for your zero-turn mowers. They're awesome. They got an incredible Hustler inventory, and they've got great deals in July. You got some time. It's only the 7th. But why wait? Get on by and see them. 20% off MSRP for their Hustler commercial mowers, and 0% financing is available for 48 months if you qualify for that. 2 locations, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge and in Gonzales. Get on by and see them. Largest Hustler inventory in the state, largest parts inventory in the state, plus the customer service you get with a local company that's been in business here in the Baton Rouge area for 22 years is second to none. Don't buy from the big box store. Buy from Gotros Outdoor Power. Get those great savings. 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers and 0% financing for 48 months is available, all at Gotros Outdoor Power. All right, let's switch over to the Saints, and we'll talk some Saints with Sharif coming up in hour 2. But I had a thought today as I was sitting at my desk, and I was just kind of scrolling through, and I started thinking to myself, and I was going through player by player and realized I don't know how old these guys are. I just know how long they've been around. And so I just went through and I was like, I'm going to put their age down and see if the Saints have gotten through this really, really old era of its roster. Because you realize entering the 2024 season, after the 53-man roster cuts initially, the Saints were 29th in age in the league. There were only a couple teams older than them in the National Football League. So you're talking about a really old roster. That roster had DeMario Davis. It had Lattimore. It had Cam Jordan, Kamara, Derek Carr, Taysom Hill, Tyrann Mathieu. Like, it was an old roster. Last year at the 53-man cut, it was only 20th. Like, they had it bumped up 29 spots. We haven't gotten to that point in this calendar, but I wanted to look at it. And on the offense, among the guys I consider to be starters or very key contributors, there is only one 30-year-old on the offense. That's Alvin Kamara, and he's not the starter, and we're not 100% sure he's going to be on the team. Now, that position is the only one that I would look at offensively for the Saints and go, you're a little old there. Kamara's 30, and Achane is 27 and has put some mileage on the tires. We watched him run the football a lot at Clemson, and he obviously was used heavily, running for over 1,000 yards on multiple occasions in Jacksonville. So you've got a heavily used 27-year-old as your lead back, and right now, a 30-year-old. Now, you've got some other guys that are younger, obviously. And that's great if you want to go ahead and use some of those. You want to use Kendre Miller, you want to use Devin Neal, well, they got to get healthy. You want to go back and try to rekindle the magic that you got with Audric Estime at the end of the year. Okay, you're a little bit younger there, but Achane is your lead back, and he's a little bit older. Everywhere else on the offense, you're pretty young. Kelvin Banks is a baby. He's 21 years old. On the other tackle, Taliesin Fuaga is 24. You're young at tackle. Now, on the interior, you're older, but that's, I would argue, the spot on the field I would be the most okay with being older. Centers, guards, and tackles don't have to cover a lot of ground. They need to be strong, they need to be on time, and they need to be technically sound. And so you've got Eric McCoy at 28. Now, he's got some injuries, but he's only 28. David Edwards is your oldest guy on offense outside of Juwan Johnson. He's 29. That's no spring chicken, but it's not 36 either. And Cesar Ruiz is only 27 years old. Like, he's been around, it seems like forever. We talk about it a lot, but he's not old. Juwan Johnson's 29 and Noah Fant's 28. So you're not really young at tight end, but Oscar Delp, who's right there behind him, who they're excited about, he's 22 years old. And wide receiver, Chris Olave is 26. Devon Vele is 28. So that's not young, but I would argue Olave's in his prime. Tyson's 21. You just picked him up. And then Jalen Polk, who you haven't used yet, is 24. So your offense is not old anymore. Tyler Shuck, I didn't mention there, is 26. I'm not worried about a 26-year-old quarterback. 26-year-old corner, I'll start to look at that a little bit. 26-year-old at quarterback, he's fine. So you're young. All your offensive linemen are in their 20s. All your wide receivers are 28 and under, and the 28-year-old is Vele, who's probably 3, maybe 4. Your quarterback's young enough. Running back's the only spot that I would look at and go, you're a little bit old there. But they can remedy that pretty quickly, especially because they've got some guys in-house that are younger if they can stay healthy and show they can produce a little bit. And it's possible those guys are thrust into action if Alvin Kamara is not with the team, which we're just not sure about at this point. Now, on defense, you look up front, and you're a little bit older. Granderson in the middle is 31. That's towards the end of his prime, if not past his prime. Granderson, I say Granderson there, Godshaw and Granderson, similar names, but Granderson's 29, and Chase Young's 27. He's younger than most people would think. And then you got Brian Brzee at 24. You head out to your corners. Quincy Riley's 25. Kool-Aid's 23. He was really young when they drafted him. And then Jonas Sanker, who's playing the star, is 23. That's young. Julian Blackman is 27. Now, Justin Reed's up there. He's a veteran at 29, but it's safety, not corner. And then at linebacker, you've got Caden Ellis. He and Devon Godshaw are the oldest at 31. And then Pete Werner is 27. But you've got Danny Stutzman, who's 23, who you feel pretty good about. Where you are older, where I mentioned Godshaw at the middle, where you're 31. Kristen Miller, you just drafted, he's 21. So that would be an heir apparent there. I realize I didn't mention Cam Jordan, but we'll see what his role is, and he was pretty productive in that role last year. My point being that I think when they put this together and they make their 53-man roster cuts and you realize that Cam Jordan and Alvin Kamara are not vital pieces to this machine, you're going to be closer to the top half of the league in terms of youth. And that's just not something that the Saints could say the last 3 or 4 years. Now, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, nor are the Saints. This is a natural process in every single organization. But when I look at this group and I look at guys who have to be great for the next 2 years, 3 years, I don't see anyone on this list who in 2 years could be significantly past his prime. Cam Jordan qualifies and Alvin Kamara qualifies. And Etienne is iffy. We'll see. But that's running back. I think you can fix that. I'm not worried about Olave at 28, especially if Tyson's what he's supposed to be at 23, and I'm adding 2 to all these years. I'm not worried about Quincy Riley at 27 or Kool-Aid McKinstry at 25 in 2 years. Like, if Danny Stutzman can replace Caden Ellis, there were places last year, there were places certainly 2 years ago where you were looking at this going, I don't know how long this can hold on. And you, as I mentioned these names at the front, you have moved on from the Mario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, Derek Carr, Taysom Hill, Tyrann Mathieu. You could see the end coming for all these guys. I don't see a cliff coming anywhere on this top, and I think I've listed like 25 players, a little bit more than 11 and 11 on each side. So the front office, while we've maligned them, while we have rightly, I think, criticized them at times for some poor decisions, they have done a good job of creating some youth. Now, what we don't know about this youth is how good they're going to be. That's the second piece of the equation that I can't tell you today. I don't know what Quincy Riley's future is. I don't know what Kool-Aid's future is. I don't know what Danny Stutzman's future is. I can't tell you for sure what Oscar Delp's going to be or what Jordan Tyson's going to be. I don't know if Brian Brzee at 26 is going to be a great player. There are some things I can't tell you for sure on the ceiling level of these guys. And that's the part where if you're going to contend for Super Bowl, these guys have to step forward. But if you just look at the first part of this, which is objective and data, you've now shifted towards the top half of the NFL with youth, where just 2 years ago this time, you were almost rock bottom. And that's a bad place to be, especially with your salary cap situation. And oh, by the way, there are some guys who are up to be paid. Olave, we'll see what he ends up getting, and you've got to deal with some of your offensive linemen. But you look at the youth where you're in a good spot, and with that is also going to come available dollars starting next offseason in bulk. And that's the plan. That's the structure. And I think, honestly, this is not blowing smoke. This is not black and gold glasses. Y'all know where I stand on that. Like, I want them to win, but I'm not emotionally invested in every single snap like a lot of y'all are. I'm just here to tell you what I think. I think this young group is going to be good, and I believe that you are more than halfway through the full rebuild. You're obviously out of the dark ages. That was a tough 2 years, and it went through Thanksgiving of last year, right? You're on the other side of that. It's just a matter of now that you're on the other side of it, like how much further do you have to go to get to where you're staring Philly and you're staring Seattle and you're staring the Rams in the eyes. I don't see that this season. I don't think that's this season. But I do think it could be possible if we look up at Christmas and a bunch of these guys who are 23, 24, 25, which there are a lot of them on this list. And younger than that, and Jordan Tyson, Kelvin Banks, Taliese Fuaga, Oscar Delp, Jonas Sanker, Quincy Riley, Kool-Aid McKinstry. There are a lot of guys that if those guys look like they are really coming into their own by Christmas this year, then you can really start ratcheting up the expectation on making the push. But it's got to start with some youth and some cash free. They've gotten closer to the youth, and the cash free is coming. I think that's an exciting thing to look at with this New Orleans team. So hopefully they're able to keep that ball rolling in the right direction. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Take a time out, come back and chat with Glen West. He's from On 3. Talk some Tiger, baseball transfer portal, plus SEC Media Days. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is the website. Get on by and hit in their golf simulators. It's probably something that many of you have not explored. Doesn't matter if you're a scratch golfer or you're a beginner. Swing Easy is for everyone. One, you get unlimited mulligans. So if you're not a great player right now and you just want to hit shots until you hit a good one, you can. If you're scratched and you want to go in there and work on your game, you can get some great feedback from their technology. You can get your club head speed, you can get your ball speed, you can get your spin rate, you can see your trajectory, see your impact position, all those things that are important to a scratch golfer that's trying to get better. If you're just looking to have some fun as a beginner and don't want to do it on the public driving range with everybody looking at you, well, do it in a private bay in the air conditioning at Swing Easy Golf Club. It's a great place no matter your skill level or what you're trying to get out of the day, whether you're practicing your game or just trying to have some fun. Swing Easy Golf Club is here for all of that. They're on Segan at Perkins. Just stop by. No matter the time of day, you can go at night. Can't do that in golf course land. You can do it at Swing Easy Golf Club. They're on Segan at Perkins, swingeasygcbr.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Tuesday shows brought to you by an Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Every Tuesday, we talk to our guy Glen West of On 3, covering the Tigers, football, basketball, baseball. He does it all. We talk about it all here. He joins us on the Gems Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing quite well. Looks like baseball nearing the end of a portal haul at this point. 3 pitchers in the boat, all right-handed. How do you feel about what they did to address some needs on the pitching front?
Yeah, I think the Landon Hood edition, the Diego Velasquez edition is going to be 2 guys that really kind of come in immediately and fill meaningful roles for LSU. I think Caden Smith is a guy who has a lot of talent, but probably needs some more development in the program and needs to, hone in on his command and control a little bit more before you can really pencil him into a bullpen role. But I like what they did. They added 3 pitchers and guys that have good velocity, guys that I think are going to be able to come in and develop in the program. But look, I do think that I take Jay Johnson at his word that, a huge piece for this pitching staff and the improvement of the overall team is just going to have to be through the returning pitchers and through these, this core group of guys, whether it's Kason Evans, William Schmidt, Cooper Moore, Reagan Ricken, several of the left-handed pitchers like Cooper Williams, Danny Lockenmeyer, like all these guys are going to have to take really significant, meaningful steps forward next year for LSU to be the complete team that they need to be in order to get to Omaha.
Were you surprised at the Marcos Paz news?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that was one that they probably didn't want to see get away. He was, very much in the plans, as of a few weeks ago. And so, but, look, they've brought in some competition, which they needed to do. They needed to bring in some guys to compete with some of these other players. And, I think Hood and Velasquez are going to be 2 guys that really do that. And, I think that Paz is probably looking for a place where he knows he can go in and start for 2 years. And there was going to be a lot of competition for those weekend roles this year at LSU. So, we'll see kind of what happens there. I think the Texas schools are involved. Georgia is involved with Marcos Paz. But I think the big piece of the offseason now for LSU is looking ahead to this weekend and what they're able to get through the MLB draft.
I realize this is really hard to do because there's a lot of kids in the class and you really can't pinpoint the whole deal. But I think they lost 8 or 9 last year. Is something similar expected this year by your estimation?
Yeah, I think so. Anywhere from that 6 to 8 range. And I think what is maybe a little bit different is that this class is, over 20 kids right now. So, they have a good safety net to where if they do lose, on the high end, 8 players, they're still bringing 12 to campus. And so, I think there's some really talented guys that maybe aren't viewed as those upper echelon draft prospects that are going to make it here and, have opportunities to develop in the program. We've already seen a couple of them pull their name out of the draft. Nate Davis was a big one. Certainly the left-handed pitcher Braxton Beatty is going to be another one that hopefully can develop pretty quickly in the program. So I'll be fascinated to see, particularly on the pitching side, which of these one or two big arms they're able to maybe get through the draft here and over the weekend, because I do think that's where, if you're LSU, you hope a lot of the focus is in terms of who you can get to campus this through this weekend.
All quiet over at LSU basketball for the moment. I know you wrote about some things that are going on with Yam Madar last week. Are you surprised that we haven't heard much at this point in the calendar? It's still not, panic time for us on the outside, but it just continues to be quiet.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And, I think the Madar piece here is maybe one that, if we had talked 2 weeks ago, I was a little bit more confident in. It sounds like there's a rival club, that Madar is seriously considering signing with overseas. And so LSU is going through all of its options, just in terms of what I've heard and what people have kind of told me. Like, I think that there's, still some ambiguity there with Madar in terms of, does he actually come overseas and play college basketball, or does he stay in Israel and continue to play basketball professionally? I think that's very much still up in the air right now, and so I think LSU has to have some contingency plans, because you can't go into next season with just Divine Ugachukwu and Austin Nunez as the two guards that are going to handle or orchestrate the offense. I think they need to have some other plans, and it sounds like they do, but those plans are being kept under wraps as well. So I don't have much in that respect.
Get Tremont Waters. He's got to be eligible.
Yeah.
He only played 2 years. Not that old.
You know who was on campus yesterday was Skylar Mays. Skylar Mays was working out. He's a 4-year player. He's got a 5th year. He's got a 5th year with this new rule. So maybe they can convince Skylar to come back for another season.
Garrett Temple played 5. I know he played 17 in the NBA, but he played 5 here at LSU, so I think that's the end of the line for him, even though he retired from the league. In all seriousness, we'll see what LSU basketball can do here over the next 6 weeks or so before school starts. All right, SEC Media Day is coming up next week. Any thought on who LSU might bring based on the guys that you talked to during spring ball that maybe were good on the mic?
Yeah, I think there are a couple that stand out. I think Trades Green is one that really stands out to me. I think Jordan Seaton, the offensive lineman, is one that really stands out as well. Maybe Ty Benefield on the defensive side of the ball. Whit Weeks, of course, makes a ton of sense, but they did bring, I think they brought Whit last year.
He did,
so
yeah, he went last year.
Maybe Kiffin will bring him back with them. But, I think those are maybe a few. I would love to get to talk to the quarterback. I just don't know that they're going to make that move with Levitt. He hasn't done anything in terms of spring ball, and he still hasn't been made available yet for the media. So I'm not sure that's the time when LSU would want to break him out. But they still have some really good other options. I think Trades, it'll be interesting to hear from him, and Seaton, I think, is one that makes a ton of sense, and so does Benefield.
Yeah, I never get to go to those because they're always right during my show, which drives me nuts. But I thought that I remember listening to a Benefield soundbite, and I thought he sounded good. Seaton's is a great quote. Trades is just cool as they come. Trades doesn't give long bites, but he gives funny bites.
Yeah, he'll get some good ones in there, some good ones for the social teams, and that'll be fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from Kiffin as well. Like, there's been so much built up, with this season in terms of what this is going to look like in year one, and so what he has to say on a more national stage, I think, is going to be really interesting to hear, and kind of also hear what kind of questions are floated his way in the big panel as well.
Last one here on the football side of things. I know that Shay handles a bunch of recruiting stuff over there for y'all, but you're involved as well. To get Jayden Anding here today, I talked about at the top of my show. Got a little bit of advantage when older brother is on campus, but good to get a Louisiana kid, I would imagine. How do you feel about that addition?
Yeah, another solid pickup. They were supposed to commit last week, wanted to cross some I's, or cross some T's and dot some I's. I think before he finally pulled that trigger, Ole Miss was really making a big move for him over the last several days, but LSU got it over the finish line. So I think that's the 7th in-state commitment now out of the 16 that LSU has. So very heavy Louisiana class again for Lane Kiffin, and they're still working on some other guys. Like, I think the Easton Royal book is far from closed. We'll see if they're able to get that over the hump in the coming weeks and months. But really strong summer. I mean, they went from 4 at the beginning of the summer to now 16. So they've really done a huge chunk of their work here over these summer months, and now we'll get a chance to kind of step back and kind of reflect on what they want to add for this class going forward. But Anding's another really strong piece, a guy that I think that they're going to get in and develop like his brother, and that's another piece of it too. Like Aiden Anding was, I mean, you were out there. He was one of the bigger surprises and one of the more impactful defensive backs that was improving in the program, before he unfortunately went down with that injury in that scrimmage. So hopefully he gets a speedy recovery and is out playing with his brother next year.
We shall see, Glenn. We appreciate the time. We'll talk next week.
All right. Thanks, Hunt.
He's Glen West, senior writer over at the Bengal Tiger with the On3 team. I want to remind you about the Highland Insurance Group, online at HighlandIG.com. HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carbo and his team are really focusing on the benefits side of insurance because they understand there's a lot of pain out there for business owners, for CFOs, trying to balance the books when you've got just exorbitant costs on the benefits front. If that's familiar to you and you would just like to have a conversation about what another option could be, talk to Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group. They do a fantastic job. They have multiple options. They're not married to one carrier. They've got options there as an independent broker, and they're not promising a magic bullet, but they're promising a conversation and a potential second option. Benefits are important. It's important to take care of your employees with their health care, to take care of them with their dental and their vision, and to make sure that they want to stay there because they feel comfortable with the health care they're provided for their family. If you're struggling to keep your employees happy and balance the books on the other side, contact the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at HighlandIG.com. All right, I want to address one thing because I didn't do it yesterday, and I'll talk about it briefly before we come back and close the hour. The Marcos Paz deal. I checked on that after it happened, and just the deal where LSU did not expect him to be a defection. They felt like they had a really good plan in place for him moving forward, and they were disappointed with that. I think there have been times in Jay Johnson's tenure here where there were guys that the path to the field was blocked, and you understood that they were going to move on. Maybe they didn't pan out the way that the coaching staff thought when they took their commitment as a high school junior. Maybe just the development of somebody in their class or right in front of them just wasn't going to allow that person to get to the field. And you understand those guys transferring out. It's just part of the nature of sports right now. This was not one of those situations, and LSU would have liked to keep Marcos Paz in the fold. Situation where he started looking elsewhere, and it looks like that's going to be an SEC landing point. Georgia and Texas are obviously involved. Texas A&M has gotten involved as well. Obviously, he's a Dallas kid, so we'll see if he ends up in Lone Star State. Wes Johnson's involved now there. That's a guy that LSU didn't want to lose, and the likelihood is that you're going to face him the next 2 years. And it's not to suggest that Marcos Paz is already some All-American. His numbers weren't very good this past year, but he still commands pretty hefty payday, and it appears somebody's ready to give it to him. And LSU just was disappointed to hear that at this point in the calendar. It was late. I mean, this is a late portal, and a lot of guys, they know when the season's over, all right, I'm going to the portal, boom. Paz didn't do anything. It was 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to the portal. And that was just a really disappointing thing for the LSU coaches to hear. So I know LSU's checking in on all that entire process, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I expect Paz to show up in the Southeastern Conference next year at one of the two Texas schools or at Georgia. All right, we'll take a time out. I wrote a column about soccer and Thanksgiving on LouisianaSports.net. I'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First, let me tell you about Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com. That's FabryChevrolet.com. The new school year is coming. If you want to get that new ride, what better place to go than Fabry Chevrolet GMC on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. They're under new ownership. The Fabry family's been in business here in Baton Rouge for 35 years, 3 locations, 5 brands, and it's the customer service and that personal touch that sets Fabry Chevrolet GMC and really the Fabry family apart. They just know how to take care of the people here in Baton Rouge. So for those of you that have been buying cars to the Fabry family for decades, got a new point right there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. So if you're looking for a Chevy Silverado or GMC Sierra on the front of trucks, go check them out. If you're looking for a Tahoe or a Suburban SUV or a Yukon Denali, you can do that as well at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville, or go by and see them at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, our Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Love telling you about Immense. There are really two fronts that they spend a lot of their time on, and one of these may really ring a bell for you as a business owner. If your IT department is just stretched thin, overworked, you just don't quite have the personnel, there's always something broken, somebody's computer's frozen, somebody clicked on this, what happened to this plugin, is our internet down? And you got one or two people scrambling. Let Immense come in, not replace, just help them. Just be proactive and a resource for you. They don't lock you into an annual deal. You're looking at a month to month. They'll perform for you, and you'll want to keep them around. The other piece to it is cybersecurity. I lived this life as an insurance broker where I just found that business owners weren't really sure what their risks were from a cyber perspective or what that would cost if things went wrong. And Immense is proactive when they're working with you on your IT to make sure that you're doing everything you need to do to keep your system safe and running, because there are constantly folks on the internet trying to get around things. And Immense is constantly looking for that. You're not. You're doing your job, right? So let Immense come in and proactively protect your systems from an IT perspective. Let them come in and help your IT department if you feel like you're stretched thin. Find them online. It's a really easy website, immense.net. They're Immense Networks, Cloud IT Management. They're online at immense.net. That brings you our Tuesday shows. All right, look, I watched Team USA. I watched every kick last night. Obviously, they got destroyed. I'm not here to tell you why. I don't know why they got destroyed. I don't know anything about soccer. But I just kind of came to the realization last night after like 4 days of soccer watching that I'm just not into it. And that's okay. I'm certainly not telling you don't be into it. You can like whatever you want. I talked about this yesterday. I love golf. You probably don't love golf. I don't love MMA. I don't care about MMA. There are some of you that just can't miss a card on MMA. But I think about my sports consumption like my Thanksgiving plate. Like I carefully look at the spread on Thanksgiving to determine what it is that I need to put on what part of my plate, maximize the real estate, right? And I started thinking about like football in this country. For me, it's the turkey. Like, is it my absolute favorite thing? No. Do I really like it? Yeah. Is it going on the plate? Absolutely. I'll take it. It's awesome. For me, baseball, from a college perspective, is like sweet potato casserole. Like, some people don't like sweet potato casserole. It's orange. People don't love it. I love it. Shovel it on the plate. I want college baseball all the time. It's for me. I love it. MLB baseball, that's like the mac and cheese. I loved it when I was a kid. I'm going to love it when I'm 80. I love it. Heap up the mac and cheese. And I think of like basketball from a college NBA perspective. It's like the dinner roll. Is it my favorite? Am I going to gorge that? Am I just going to sit all the time and watch that? No. Do I really like it when yeah, like it a lot. For sure. And like soccer for me, it's like deviled eggs. Like you might love deviled eggs. I don't eat them, and I'm not going to eat them anymore. And I'm not going to watch any more soccer. I'm not riveted by the product. I'm riveted in a sense by the pageantry of this event. I think the World Cup is awesome. And we talked about it yesterday. I just don't like the concept of the game. I don't like PKs. I don't like the fouls. I don't like the guys falling over. I don't like the guys motionless on the field. It's a lot of the things I said yesterday, but it just, and then the fact, and this probably is part of it. I just don't, we're not good. And so that hurts my investment in it. I freaking love watching the Olympics. I love watching swimming. I love watching 2-on-2 sand volleyball. I like watching the volleyball. I'm never going to watch those. I like watching them because we're good at it and it's America. I'm watching the World Baseball Classic. I realize it's a little bit because the pitchers don't go 6-7 innings. They're out there on pitch counts because their teams care. I like Team USA basketball. There are some things from a perspective of Stars and Stripes pride I love. I watched a ton of Andy Roddick tennis when Federer was beating his brains in because I loved watching Team USA. But I also like to watch tennis. I don't have room on my plate for soccer. And I came to that realization. I'm thrilled you do, and I know that 99.98% of the world's population doesn't even know college baseball exists. And I am not telling any of them to like it. I'm not trying to lure you into watching the John Deere Classic on the PGA Tour last week. But I'm just not going to do soccer. I didn't enjoy the last 4 days. And that's okay. It's okay if you love it. And it's okay if you don't really care about soccer, but when the Stars and Stripes come on in the World Cup, you're painting your face red, white, and blue. Everybody can do it to whatever level they want. I've just determined, making a blanket statement here, it's just not for me. Like, I'm going to watch I like watching the hockey gold medal game when Team USA beat Canada this year. I loved it. And I like watching playoff hockey. I'm not going to watch the Golden Knights and the Rangers in a February Tuesday, but I like watching the playoffs if it gets like to overtime or something. Soccer just doesn't do anything for me. And I gave it a fair shot. I think there was a time in my life where I just determined I love baseball, I love basketball, I love football, I love golf, I like tennis. Soccer sucks. Stupid. You're an idiot if you like soccer. I'm not like that anymore. I've matured in my years. And I told myself after the College World Series was over and after family vacation was over, I'm going to sit down and watch a little bit of soccer in this World Cup thing. And I thought the crowds and all that stuff was awesome. I thought watching the sport being played, for me, 95% of the time stunk. And I'm saying that, and I didn't watch it, but on the heels of a team scoring 3 goals in the last 10 minutes in a great comeback soccer game where Messi's scoring goals. I get it. My pulse is not moving. My heart rate's not moving. And I just can't get into it. I've made that declaration. Not that anyone really cares, but we had 5 minutes into the hour, so I'll give you that thought on it. I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net if you want to go read that for free, but it's just kind of where I am at the beautiful game, the world's game, except we're not any good at it. And I'm kind of done with the conversation that even I've had on this station in the last 2 weeks about our great players not being, like, all our great athletes not playing soccer, which we would crush the other teams if they did. I'm kind of over that discussion too, because it broke out in my group text last night. Kind of over the whole thing. And I think a lot of America is now that we're not in, but we'll see. All right, that's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. We're going to kick hour 2 off with a bang here, talking about LSU football. We'll get to some LSU baseball as well. Sharif, #Talking Saints.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Here's some baseball for you. Marucci, they got baseball year round. If you don't like soccer and don't like football and don't like basketball and don't like golf and don't like MMA, but you love baseball, Marucci's got you covered. And you can actually go take a tour and learn how Marucci became the official bat of Major League Baseball. It's an incredible story from right here in Baton Rouge. 2 ex-MLBers in the backyard decide to make a bat. Their trainers there. They determine it's pretty good. People start to hear about it. People start to get their hands on it. And all of a sudden, it just breaks out like wildfire. And 22 years after that started, you're the official bat of Major League Baseball. Go learn that story. Go learn how that happened. And then go see where they make 1,200 bats a day. Go see where they stay in those bats and send them off to the best players in the world. MLB All-Star Games coming up next week. You'll see players swinging Marucci from right here in Baton Rouge. Go learn about it. Go take the tour. Go see the hitter's house there at Marucci. It's a true gem here in Baton Rouge, and they're online at maruccisports.com.